Begin with developing news on Egypt Air Flight MSR 181 flying from the Mediterranean coastal city of Alexandria to Cairo, which was hijacked with 81 passengers and 7 crew members on board, including 10 U.S. citizens and 8 British nationals. The hijackers asked for the flight to land in Cyprus, where it has landed at the Larnaca airport. According to Egypt Air, all passengers except for 5 foreign citizens and crew members were allowed to leave the plane. There are reports of one of the hijackers saying he's wearing an explosive belt, but those reports have not yet been confirmed. Cyprus police say the hijackers still have not made any demands after landing at Larnaca airport on the island's south coast. And we're joined in the studio by Mohammed Al-Qasim with more information, the latest updates. Mohammed, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Benjamin. What we know at this moment that all of the passengers have been released with the exception of 5 foreigners and the 7 crew members. So the hijacker or hijackers, we don't have a number on how many hijackers are on the plane, but they have released all but 5 foreigners and kept all 7 members of the crew. The flight, which was supposed to travel or take off from Alexandria to Cairo, took off this morning from Alexandria, but it was diverted after a hijacker told the pilot that he has or he's wearing a suicide belt. The plane was supposed to land in Cairo around 7:45 a.m. local time. It was diverted to Cyprus. We don't know the exact reasons why it was diverted to Cyprus. We could only speculate, probably because of the close proximity to Egypt. This was a domestic flight, didn't have much fuel in it to last more than an hour flight, so they probably chose Cyprus for that reason. Again, Egypt Air said that negotiations with the hijacker or hijackers has started. The Cypriot officials are taking care of those negotiations. However, officials from Cyprus said no demands have been given by the hijackers or the hijacker at this moment. As you can hear, we keep saying hijacker or hijackers. We don't have an exact number of how many hijackers are on the plane. The Cypriot officials have confirmed that all but 5 passengers, they're all foreigners, have been released, and the hijacker or hijackers kept all 7 crew members. We knew earlier that there were 10 Americans on board, as well as 8 8 British subjects on board, also traveling from Alexandria to Cairo. Probably the rest of the passengers were Egyptian nationals. So this is fluid situation. We keep getting on information. Information keeps on changing. We had information earlier in the day where 55 passengers were on board. Now Egypt Air and the Egyptian Aviation Ministry say that there are 81 passengers. 18 of them were foreigners. Of the 18, 5 were kept on the airplane by the hijacker or hijackers. The remaining passengers were released, and 7 crew members are still on the plane.
Mohammed Al-Qasim, thanks for giving us that update. We are joined now on the phone by aviation expert Aaron Lapidot. Mr. Lapidot, thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Based on what we just heard, thank you for joining us. Based on what we just heard, I mean, they kept 5 foreign citizens, foreign nationals on the plane, and of course the crew. Is this sort of standard with hijackings?
Well, hijacking is, I'm afraid it's not very regulated, so there is no standard. So it depends on what they want to do. What is their purpose, what they intend to negotiate for. The fact that they landed somewhere, specifically in Cyprus, shows us that they have some demands that they want to make. Otherwise, they could have, if they wanted to crash the aircraft like they did with the Russian aircraft that they blew up just 5 months ago, the one that took off from Sharm el-Sheikh in Sinai, they could have just crashed the plane. But the fact that they landed and they kept some hostages with them shows us that they have some demands which we don't know yet.
Well, based on what you say, it's not your average kamikaze act, so to speak. What are the security procedures that the airport has at its
Well, unfortunately, the Egypt aviation was under very severe scrutiny lately, and they've been accused for very loose security measures in all their airports, and it is demonstrated today. What can I say? There was a possibility then to smuggle this incident 5 months ago, to smuggle an explosive charge to the aircraft in Sharm el-Sheikh, and now a couple of one or two, we're not sure about that yet, hijacker were been able to hijack the plane and turn it to Larnaca, and even more severe is the fact that they have a standard procedure, the pilots of Egypt Air, not to open the security door to the cockpit, and they disregarded it this time because it is presumed that the hijacker were able to come into the cockpit and turn the plane around. You know, that is all this points out that their security measures on the ground and in the air are left wanting.
And in terms of security at the Larnaca airport at this point, what measures do they have at hand to deal with the situation?
Well, they are circling or isolating the airplane at the end of a runway, and they have police and special forces there. It is not like a very threatened airport in Larnaca, so I don't think that they have too much security. But at this point, I'm sure they will be reinforced with maybe some foreign security services that will come to their aid, and now it remains to see what they want, the hijacker, and how which is even more important, what will the authorities in Cyprus do, because they have a choice of reaction. They can supply the hijacker with their demands. They can try and storm the airplane. There are quite a few. They can negotiate. I don't know. There are quite a few of venues that they can choose.
Now, given the security situation, can we presume that the Larnaca airport is closed to travelers?
Yes, it is closed. They have announced it. It is closed. The airport is closed.
Aaron Lapidot, aviation expert, thanks for giving us more information regarding the security procedures at the airport in light of the hijacking. We go back to you now, Mohammed Al-Qasim, with more updates.
One quick update for our viewers. Egypt Air on its official Twitter account saying now that the hijacker kept 4 foreigners as well as the entire crew staff on the airplane.
Does this mean they let one go, or it's just an update?
It's an update. They probably thought there were 5, but now they know for a fact it's 4. And looking at the pictures coming in as we speak, from looking at the demeanors and the behavior of the passengers, I didn't see anyone running away from the airplane. I didn't see anyone once their foot, they started to walk away from the airplane. I didn't see them walking away scared. That could be that they know who's up, there is only probably one hijacker, and the hijacker probably wasn't really vicious. He wasn't really threatening them. So again, just looking at the demeanor of all the passengers walking away, as you can see here, they don't seem to be threatened by anything. They're walking, strolling, and they're not that far from the airplane. They just came down the stairs. Look at it; it's not very far. I would imagine that if they knew there was a bomb or someone with suicide belt on him, they'll be running away at this time. So they're just walking away. I think it's Again, I don't think that the situation is really that threatening, and they know more than anyone else. Probably now they are being questioned by the Cypriot officials, asking them questions about how many hijackers are there, one or more, his demeanor, how he behaved. So we'll know more as time goes by, and as you can tell, Benjamin, information comes in and it's developing and changing by the minute.
Thank you much, Mohammed Al-Qasim, on the latest update. We go now to Cyprus, where we're joined by journalist Nathan Morelli. Mr. Morelli, thanks for joining us again. Can you give us an update from Cyprus?
Yeah, I'm just getting an email in from the government here, and literally as we're on the air, I'm reading it. This is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A ministerial committee is currently handling this situation. I'm reading this directly to you. A national crisis center has been set up. Now, as you may have read, Egypt Air say they've negotiated the release of all on board except 5 foreigners and the crew. We know the president of Cyprus has spoken to the president of Egypt, and they're looking at how they can move forward with this situation. Because now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. The passengers are off the plane. There are foreigners on the plane, 4 of them, and the crew of 7. We understand, it's not confirmed, that the hijacker has some kind of explosive. Some media, local media here in Cyprus, reported that it was a suicide belt. That was a tip-off, but not confirmed from a police officer. So now it's a question of wait and see. Now, this email I've just got from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs pretty much looks like this is now being handed to the highest authority here in Cyprus. The government are moving their people into Larnaca, and they're going to be doing the negotiating.
Nathan Morelli, thank you very much for joining us from Cyprus with the latest. We have Mohammed Al-Qasim here on the set.
We know that there is at least 1 Irish citizen on the airplane among the 4 foreigners, and there are news that the hijacker of the airplane is Egyptian national. His name is Ibrahim Samaha, and he requested to go to Istanbul, but the airplane could not make it to Istanbul, and it landed in Cyprus.
Okay, Mohammed Al-Qasim, do you have any questions for Nathan Morelli, the journalist in Cyprus?
Can you tell us if officials have been talking to passengers, and what kind of information they have received on the number of hijackers, if it's 1 or more, any information that you can talk to us about?
Oh, we have technical difficulties. We lost him on the line. So we'll continue with you.
So again, we know that so far from the news that we got, that it's an Egyptian citizen, and we've speculated earlier in the newscast that it could be a disgruntled Egyptian citizen who wanted to leave Egypt because of the way the hijacker behaved from the time the airplane took off and where he wanted or they wanted to land. Now we know it's only 1. His name is Ibrahim Samaha, and he requested to go to Istanbul. Again, Istanbul is somewhat Turkey is somewhat friendly to the Egyptian Brotherhood. We're only speculating here. He probably wanted to go there because he could probably request political asylum in Turkey. This person, this Egyptian citizen, could be probably have some issues with the Egyptian police.
It seems like quite a dramatic way to leave Egypt, to get to Istanbul or anywhere else.
Well, if you had a choice between Egyptian prisons and if you have any relationship to the Brotherhood, or to hijack a plane and go to Turkey and ask for political asylum, I think he'd rather to take this chance rather than be arrested by the Egyptian police. Again, we know now, at least from information coming in, that the hijacker is an Egyptian national. His name is Ibrahim Samaha, and he has requested to go to Istanbul, but the airplane, apparently for fuel reasons, landed in Cyprus.
Thank you, Mohammed Al-Qasim. We are joined on the line now by terror expert Dr. Eli Carmon. Dr. Carmon, thanks for joining us. Based on everything we've seen so far in terms of this essentially being a lone wolf, so to speak, a single person, and not necessarily related to any specific terror organization, what can you surmise from what we've seen?
Good morning. Just 30 minutes ago, I spoke on your station in French, and the moment I heard that terrorists liberated 20 persons, including children, I evaluated that this cannot be a Daesh plot, or hijacking, because they would not let so many people and either negotiate further or explode the plane. So it seems that there are two possibilities. One, which at this moment is the most plausible, that he wants to receive asylum in. It seems that he wanted to go to Turkey because, as we know, Turkey is in crisis with Egypt exactly because it supports the Muslim Brotherhood. So perhaps he thought that he will receive better conditions in Istanbul and will receive immediately asylum. The second is that possibly even the pilot, he said that he does not have sufficient fuel to go to Istanbul, but he was sufficiently intelligent to do it, although he had fuel, because he understood that in Istanbul, the negotiations with the Erdogan government will be much tougher for the Egyptians. The second possibility is that he is a Muslim Brotherhood activist which wants to negotiate the liberation of some of the hundreds of Muslim Brotherhood leaders and militants which are in prison in Egypt, and they are on trial for many months, and it's not clear if some of them will be executed or not. So this could be a second possibility.
Based on all that, I mean, why would he have directed his focus to foreign nationals? I mean, we know there were 10 U.S. nationals and 8 Britons on the plane, but he kept behind 5 or 4 foreign nationals on the plane. Why not Egyptians?
Because he understands that it will be easier to negotiate either to receive asylum in Cyprus or to continue to to Turkey. Clearly, the Westerners are better, if you want, cards in the negotiations with the Cypriot authorities, but also with the Egyptian authorities. And I'm not sure at all that he has even an explosive belt. Perhaps he passed the security. He had nothing on him, but the moment he announced to the pilot that he has a explosive belt or something similar to an explosive belt, this convinced the pilot to take the plane to Cyprus.
Dr. Eli Karman, we're joined here on the set by our correspondent Mohammed Al-Qasim, who has a question for you as well.
Dr. Carmen, we have news now coming out of Cyprus that the hijacker has asked for a translator and asked for political asylum. What do you make of this news?
It seems to me very plausible. According to how this hijacking has developed, it is quite clear that this is not a terrorist in the sense that he doesn't want to explode or to make suicide in the plane. He wants something much more simple, and again, this is asylum because it could be some of the Muslim Brotherhood or other organizations, by the way, because there are other organizations, even the secular radical organizations or leftist organizations are repressed by the government. So he wants to leave Egypt and perhaps receive some better conditions in the West.
Now that he landed in Cyprus, do you think he still have leverage to force the airplane back again up in the air and maybe after refueling to head for Istanbul?
I'm not sure. I think that the Cypriot authorities have quite a long history of dealing with a lot of terrorist incidents, especially at the time with the Palestinians. And there was even a case in 1978 when there was a huge international conference in Cyprus. The president of this conference was an Egyptian politician, very known one. And when they were taken hostages by a group of Palestinians, the Egyptians sent a commando of 60 officers and soldiers. And the Cypriot police opened fire on this commando when they landed in Larnaca. So they know how to deal with this kind of... I don't think that you liberate the plane to go to Turkey, especially that Turkey, as you know, is also a kind of enemy or, I would say, not a good friend of Cyprus.
Well, we currently also have an image of the hijacker on the plane. Actually, this is released by Egyptian television. So we can actually see the hijacker, not necessarily a young guy, not
Ibrahim
your average
Samaha.
terrorist.
Yes, that's Ibrahim Samaha,
so we have
Egyptian
a better
national.
understanding of what we're talking about here as well. Dr. Eli Carmon, thank you very much for joining us with the latest information. Mohammed Al-Qasim, do you have any more updates for us?
Well, as we know, again, the Ibrahim Samaha, the Egyptian national who is reported to be the hijacker, has asked for a translator, and he's asking also for political asylum. Egypt Air also said that only 4 nationals, one of them is Irish, is still on in the plane. And all 7 crew members are still also on the airplane. They have not been released. Apparently the hijacker has asked or requested to fly or to go to Istanbul. However, for some reason, whether it's fuel reasons, maybe the pilot tricked him, but for some reason it landed in Cyprus. He was probably planning on seeking asylum in Turkey. Probably it's a little bit easier for him because of the political situation between Turkey and Egypt, but he's right now in Cyprus. If the Cypriot officials establish that there is only one hijacker, and given the size of the airplane, even though it was a domestic flight, the Airbus A320, it's not a small airplane. Probably at some point, if negotiations fail, they may storm the airplane. He's only one person, and if they establish also that he doesn't really have a suicide belt on, they may actually approach it from a police or security angle rather than just continue with the negotiations for a long time. The communication lines are already established between the police as well as the hijacker. It's just a matter of time before this situation ends, hopefully peacefully.
Thanks, Mohammed Al-Qasim. We're joined now on the line by our correspondent Shai Ben-Ari with the latest in terms of the response from Israel. We had heard, Shai, earlier that the Air Force was ready at the Egyptian border. What is the latest here?
Yeah, well, that information has been confirmed. Indeed, the Israeli Air Force jets were launched earlier on just to make sure that there was no sort of infiltration attempt into Israeli airspace. Indeed, if it does turn out that the original target was Turkey, then perhaps there may have been some concern regarding the plane moving, closely to Israeli airspace, but this has been ruled out, and then no action was needed. As far as we know, flights are still not leaving Ben Gurion International Airport for Larnaca, so long as this situation remains totally unresolved. But I would say that for the moment, it isn't looking as serious as it was first appeared.
Shai Ben-Ari, thanks for giving us the latest update from Israel regarding the situation, the hijacking. We go back to you, Mohammed Al-Qasim.
Yes, the situation is still, as I said, still fluid. Information is still coming in right now. The hijacker, Egyptian national, Ibrahim Samaha, has asked for a translator, and also he's asking for political asylum. That gives a little bit of explanation to why he chose to go outside Egypt. This wasn't just any hijacking situation. He's obviously a disgruntled citizen. He's having issues with the Egyptian government. Asking to go to Istanbul gives an idea. Probably he may be, and this is just speculation, maybe a member of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. There are many members of the Brotherhood in Istanbul, and also Istanbul has been very generous and also welcoming to the Egyptian Brotherhood in Turkey, and it houses not only members of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood, but also many media outlets, their TV stations, radio, as well as newspapers. So asking to go there is just because he felt that he could be received and welcomed there. He said earlier we received news that he may be wearing a explosive belt or suicide belt. At this point, it hasn't been confirmed. Egypt Air said that there are at least 4 foreigners still on the airplane on board, also in addition to the crew members, 7 members of airplane crew that are still on the airplane.
We just got a message in actually from Cypriot television that the hijacker noted that his ex-wife was in Cyprus. Now, the exact relation to the story, the hijacking, is not clear at the moment, but it certainly makes for a very interesting turn of events.
This is breaking news for you, and the news and the information keep coming, and it's very fluid, and we have to sort it all out and be careful about what we say.
Indeed, indeed. So in terms of, I mean, if there were to be a relation to the Muslim Brotherhood, what might that mean for Cairo and Ankara? I mean,
well, it means that Egyptians are still, there are elements of the Brotherhood in Egypt that are either running away from the government or they're about to be arrested by the government. We know that there's the Egyptian government is cracking down on the Muslim Brotherhood. But the more important issue here is the security at the airports. Now, if he doesn't have a suicide belt, if he doesn't have any weapon, and he's cleared to go in, that's a different situation. But if he has any weapons on him and he went through security checkpoints into the airplane and boarded the plane, that's really a huge hit for Egypt, for its tourism industry, for this trust between travelers into its airports and tourism. We've seen what happened a few months ago with the downed Russian airplane from Sinai when it left Sharm el-Sheikh. Apparently, ISIS, the Islamic State in Sinai, was able to plant a bomb in the airplane, which exploded over Sinai, and that was a huge hit economically for the Egyptian government.
Al-Qasim, thank you so much for joining us. Well, those were the latest reports, of course, regarding the hijacking. Join us again 20 minutes.